narrator. I haven't read the whole book. I'm approximately 17% through it. But it seems like you really made a choice to have... Who is your narrator?
Finish the book.
Okay.
You'll probably have an idea of who it is at the end, but I mostly wanted it to have a sort of storytelling idea. I wanted it to have that classic fairy tale once upon a time feeling, and I think that automatically lends itself to, it has the presence of a storyteller there. So even if it wasn't someone specific, that was the kind of voice I wanted it to have.
You keep referring to psychics and fortune tellers. And
I used to live in Salem, Massachusetts, so I was surrounded by psychics.
Do you feel that when you're writing, you're creating this, you're tapping into anything?
Possibly. I do think there are sections that I now read and I'm just like, I don't even how did I even come up with this? Like sometimes it feels like it's almost something I'm finding somewhere, whether it's in my subconscious or just somewhere out in story stuff in the universe to pull from. It definitely seems like it has that feel to it sometimes. Yes, lean back.
Hey, I have no idea what prompted this question, but it just popped into my mind while you were reading. What's the difference for you looking from child's eyes and looking from adult eyes?
Oh, that's interesting. I think there's an elevated sense of wonder when you have a child perspective. I think it's almost like you have fewer associations, or things aren't as heavy because you don't have all the life experience that weighs on things. So I think it kind of has a higher sense of possibility, maybe, to do the child perspective. But I like going back and forth between both and maybe trying to capture some of that wonder in an adult perspective as well. Lots of questions.
Okay, I love the fact that you had a Spotify playlist for this, and I thought, why don't all authors do that? Because it just gave such a lovely sense of what the book, the atmosphere of the book that you were about to dive into. And I was wondering, are those songs that kind of came, how did that come into play into your writing? Did they come afterwards, or were they inspirational to you? How did you?
My marketing person, Jillian, is going to love that you said that.
Really?
Because this was her idea. She was like, Erin, make a playlist.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. Is a question about the, I have a playlist of kind of circus-y songs that's up on Spotify, and I think there's another, 8 tracks, there's a website you can get it on. It's kind of like my circus mixtape. That it's songs that I listen to while writing, or songs that now sort of have a circusy sound to it. And I always listen to music while I write, so some of it is stuff that I literally had the one track on continuous repeat, a song by Iron and Wine called The Trapeze Swinger, that hundreds on the play count, because I would just leave it on repeat and write for hours and hours and hours. So my marketing person, Jillian, was really interested in what kind of music I did, and kind of being able to share that, I think, is a great way to kind of get more of that circusy feeling out there. Yes?
What do you tell yourself when you were rejected by agents?
I cried. I actually got my first bunch of rejections within a 10-hour span. That was a bad 10 hours. And these were, I actually had requested the manuscript and saw the whole thing, and still no. That initial wave of just being rejected was hard enough, and then when I first started talking to who is now my actual agent, they told me I needed to rewrite the entire book, which is not something you want to hear, and it's hard to hear, and I think that was almost worse than the flat-out rejections, because at least with your rejected flat-out, there's nothing else to do about it, but I had to think about how much I was willing to change, and whether or not I agreed with what needed to change. So it was a very difficult process, but in the end I think it was the best possible thing, because it also, in doing that much work and changing the manuscript that much, I learned so much more about writing from that whole process. Yes?
speak a little bit more to that? Because I'm curious. I feel it's almost like you've given birth and now someone's like, oh, you need to change your baby. You know, how did you start to think about that process?
I'm probably lucky in that I never thought about it like a baby. It was kind of too messy to be a baby. I didn't really take very good care of it. Like it was kind of like a three-legged cat, maybe. Like I don't know. Like, so I didn't have like the. It wasn't that like intrinsically precious to me because at that point I wasn't even sure what I had. I wasn't sure it was a book. It didn't really. It was completely nonlinear. It was sort of like I had that sense that I knew it probably needed some work. I just didn't think it needed that much work. I actually started trying to like shine it and like polish it and add some bells and whistles and sent that version back to agents, and all of them said, yeah, no, like it needs like heavy construction. So then I kind of went back to the drawing board and really started over like from the basics and built it up from there.
How long did that take you?
I did the light revision, the like bells and whistles version, over the span of about a month, and then the overhaul was about 5 months all told. And then I revised it more after I signed with my agent over the summer. And
So
then
2 more questions.
you get the last 2.